Hello friends, this is Katie here, coming at you from week 3 of my Power of Positive Thinking experiment. And I'm here at Mineral Palace Park, specifically the rock garden where we scattered my grandmother's ashes back in 1989. She used to bring my brother and I here a long time ago when we were little, and we'd go to the pond and we would feed the ducks bread and crackers, which I don't think you're allowed to do anymore, but we did it back then in the 80s. So I also came here, because I come here sometimes just to think, because, this is where my grandmother is, So I come here to think and talk to her and stuff, but I wanted to come here too because I read earlier this week this article on Cracked about, the secret histories of different landmarks, and I read that the Empire State Building was actually designed to be like a tether for blimps and airships. So the idea was that they would go up to that big needle on the top of it, you know what I'm talking about, and they would tie themselves off to that, and then there would be a ramp that the people would disembark on. And I thought that was so cool, the secret history of the Empire State Building. I never knew. And it reminded me of Mineral Palace Park, where there's this very amazing history to this park. Over 100 years ago, there was an actual mineral palace here, and it was dedicated to Colorado's mining industry. And there was a zoo here and swimming pools, and way more grand swimming pools than the one that's currently here. It's just a lot more elaborate, and most people don't know. I didn't know till I bothered to research it one day, but it's just this jewel of history right here in our own town, and people don't know. And I thought that was cool. So I kind of was, because of the Empire State Building thing, I was kind of drawn here. So this week, I gotta be honest, it was a little bit hard to find the bright side of things. But I did find some things to talk about that made me happy. The first is that I got my pig. I got a pig. He's a great stress reliever. I saw it in Walmart one day, and I fell in love because it was funny. It made me laugh the way it actually oinks, and there's just something very cathartic about squeezing it. So it was like a great stress reliever, and so I had to have it. And then this coworker of mine really made me mad this week, so I was like, okay, that's it, I'm getting my pig. So I got my pig. Let's see, the other thing that happened this week was that our neighbors, they came to me to tell me how great my kids were, how well-mannered they were, how well-behaved and polite and kind they were. And that's, as a parent, that's an awesome thing to hear, people praise your kids. It's one thing my kids don't act up when I'm around, because they know, it would hit the fan, but when I'm not around, it's good to know that they are still the same kids that I know them to be. So that was pretty cool. I also got a phone call today, so I'm maybe getting my own apartment finally. Might be able to move out of my folks' home. Yay! So I'm happy about that. I don't know for sure, but at least I got the opportunity. So that was cool. And then my son made me proud, my oldest son. He asked, because he works at the Hawaiian shaved ice stand that I talked about last week, and he asked the owner if he could work more hours, because, see, during the school year last year, they all get their own personal laptop issued by the school, but he broke his and wound up owing them $400, which has to be paid before he graduates. And I was pretty mad about that, honestly, but I was proud of him because he asked the owner of the ice stand to give him more hours so he could work off, what he owes on that computer, so I don't have to pay it. And I didn't tell him to do that. He just decided to do that on his own. So I was really proud of him for that, showing that kind of maturity. And he's not even 16 yet, I'm proud of all my kids, they really are what keep me going, you know. Like I said, Michael, he did that. That was pretty awesome. And he's just so smart when it comes to like sciencey things. Like he can take apart radios and anything technological, look at it and put it back together again, and it'll still be working the way it was. And then Gabby is a beautiful dancer, and she's so funny and such a free spirit. And she's like a chip off the old block. She likes Batman and the Joker, and she's really into Harley Quinn. So she's becoming a nerd too, like a real dork like I am, so I'm kind of proud of that. And Adam is like my little comedian. He actually cracked me up last night because the night before he had been sassing me, and I'd finally had enough, and I grounded him from, you know, computers, electronics, and all that. And he, so last night, he evidently charmed my mother into coming to talk to me. So she came to ask if I would lift his grounding, because he had been, you know, behaving all day and whatnot. And I looked at her, and I looked at him, and I was like, well, he needs to ask me himself, and he also he owes me something, you know. And Adam, he sat down on the couch next to me, and he looks at me and says in all earnestness, he says, so am I ungrounded or what? And I was like, nice try, but no. So then he's like, sorry, that's what you meant. Yeah, well, you go think about it, okay? And then we'll talk. So, but it still made me laugh, that boy. He's a trip, that's for sure. I'm actually happy too, because we went school supply shopping. Oh, my nose started itching. And we went school supply shopping, and usually I have an annual rant and rave about how ridiculous the school supply lists are, because they are absolutely insane, like just insane. But this year is actually pretty reasonable. Basically paper, pencils, and crayons, and I could live with that. I mean, you know, nothing outrageous like, you know, 2 pairs of headphones and like 10 gallons of hand sanitizer and 20 reams of paper. No, none of that. Thank God. Okay. So moving on. So there was something I wanted to talk about, but so it came to my attention today that you know, that somebody at work had seen my video last week, and was trying to, like, I don't even know what the intention was, but was basically just making fun of it and trying to, you know, because I had mentioned my friend as my work best friend, my friend Gino, and I called him my work best friend, and of course that, you know, to this person meant something else entirely. And I knew that was stupid, and thank goodness he did too, but this person didn't. Anyway, and it was very disheartening. Here I am trying to do something good for myself and, you know, for the world, I get, in my own little way, my own stupid little way, and trying to, like, you know, be, I don't know, again, I don't really know what the intention was there. It was just decidedly childish. Because I was thinking, it made me think about, you know, because I was like, well, fine, I'm just not going to do it anymore. If that's how people are, the people that make me happy, it's going to be misconstrued as something else. I don't really want to do it anymore. And actually, like, Gino told me, don't let them discourage you. You know, you're doing a good thing, and it's doing good for you, and, you know, to hell with them. Of course, he said different words, but, you know. Trying to keep it clean here. So I was like, you know what, you're right. But it got me thinking about the nature of best friends, because evidently that was the trigger there, was calling him my work best friend. And I never understood the concept of, like, having just one best friend. Like, I know that other people have just one best friend, but that has never been my experience. And I actually sat down this afternoon and I wrote down all of my best friends or the people that I consider my best friends, that just in different ways. Like I have Michaela, who lives in Germany, and she's like my kindred spirit. So that's why I call her my best friend. And, you know, I have Cindy, who's a fellow dance mom. She's my friend who's battling cancer, bravely too. And she's my best friend at, you know, in terms of like being a dance mom, but we have a lot in common. Like our outlooks and the way we raise our kids are pretty, you know, similar. And she's had my back and I've tried to have hers. There's Rachel. She's a fellow dance mom too, and she's like my best friend because she's gone through a lot of the same, you know, drama and suffering that I have, and so she understands me better than a lot of people do. And I have Josh and Kate and Michelle. They were my best friends when I was a child, and we're still like however many years later, like 27 years later, I don't know, 26 years later, because I met them when I was 10. 26 years later, you know, we're still talking, we're still friends. And, you know, there's Lyle, who was my best friend in high school, and even Larry, even though we're broken up, you know, and we're not married, you know, we were married for 16 years, and, you know, he was my best friend for that long. You know, you don't live with somebody that long and not think of them as your best friend. It's just not possible, I think. And then, of course, you know, my friend Gino, I think of him as my work best friend, and it's nothing, you know, inappropriate or anything. I don't think. I say that because I can talk to him about anything. And we pal around, and he's the person I talk about, or not talk about, but talk to, talk about anything too. Oh, tongue-tied, sorry. So I have a lot of different best friends, or people that I consider best friends, and that's actually something that makes me happy, is to know that I have that many people. I mean, on the one hand, yeah, I think it's cool that people have just one single best friend and, you know, they're loyal to each other thick and thin, but I also feel like those people are kind of missing out on, you know, they're missing out by, like cutting themselves off from possibility of relationships with other people, you know, friendships, not romantic relationships, please don't misunderstand me, but, but yeah, I mean, I just didn't understand, you know, why that was a bad thing, a negative thing, like, because for me that was like, it really was childish, you know. It smacked of high school or like middle school. Like, you remember, like, if like those people that if they caught wind that you had a crush on somebody, or even if you didn't, and they just went to that person and said, ooh, so and so has a crush on you, and tried to make it like that was a disgusting, horrible thing. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm over that. I'm way too old for that crap. And I'm happy that I am, because that was not a happy time in my life. I don't think that was a happy time in anybody's life. And it got me to thinking, too, that those people that still behave that way, even though we've long since graduated high school, it makes me pity them, honestly. That they don't have anything better to do with their time than to gossip and start rumors and to try and be like, you know, trying to hurt people for no reason but for the sake of hurting them. Like I said, like, it was like almost like that person in high school that, you know, ooh, that person likes you, like it was a disgusting, gross thing, like you're like a disgusting, gross creature, and you should never, this is my thing, is like, you should never ever shame somebody for caring about another human being. There's nothing wrong with caring about other human beings. I think this world would be a better place if more people cared about their fellow human beings. And we're openly honest about it. Like, you can care about somebody, you can love somebody without it being a certain way. Like, at least that's what I believe. Maybe I'm naive. I don't know. But But I do believe that. So to put somebody down for caring about another person, or to make them like they're a gross, disgusting human being because they care about somebody, or worse, trying to make that other person the recipient of that concern and care, make them feel like, you know, uncomfortable and like, that's wrong, you know. And shame on you. You should be ashamed of yourself for behaving that way. And all I can think of is like this quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, where she says, you know, great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and little minds discuss people. And I don't know about you guys, but one of the things that makes me happy is that I do have a great mind, and it's probably the thing that I'm vain about too, if I'm being honest. But because I feel that way, I strive to have a great mind, and I strive to think about ideas and not just people. At least not talk about people like an old biddy or an old hen, you know. Like just you don't need that in your life, you know. And I'm happy that I don't have that in my life. I'm happy that I've risen above it, that I have outgrown that. That makes me happy, you know. I'm a mature adult now. That makes me happy, although it makes me a little bit sad too, honestly. But I digress. But, you know, life's too short, you know? You should never, ever, ever, you know, put somebody down like that. So, rant over, I guess, but that, oh, and it does make me happy that, that Gino, you know, encouraged me. That made me happy. And that he is like, oh, don't worry about them, it's no big deal, you know. You know, we're better than that. Don't sink to their level. And I'm grateful that he's a mature adult as well. That makes me happy too. So, anyway, I've probably rambled on long enough, but, yeah, so just be kind to one another. Good Lord. Just be kind, spread joy, don't spread hate. If you find yourself talking nasty stuff about people, bite your tongue. You know, count to 10. So, that's my thought. But anyway, I hope you guys have a nice evening, and peace out.